Hey everyone, this is Pat Colantonio and Nick Furta from NeQter Labs to walk you through another NeQter Labs monthly town hall on the 4th today. So, as I'm sure you all know, we haven't come out with an update as of yet since we've been doing the last a couple months. So I thought today it would be good for us to review some best practices, just some things that have come up from questions with different customers or different areas that some people might not be aware of. So we will look to go through these different items today, namely some different areas of tool navigation, SPRS or SPURS, score generation, inventory report export. That's a feature that quite a few people have underutilized. Just some aspects of dashboard filtering and best use, and also looking at the vulnerability scanner and how that can help pull in new information to the hosts tab. And we'll also look to get any questions that you guys have and look to answer them live on the call as we have done the past few months or so. So outside of that, I will look to start going and showing you guys the tool. Again, any questions or anything that you'd like to contribute to the chat, there is those areas, and we will read off anything that anyone has to put in there. So to start off with the first point on the tool navigation side, just an overview of the HUD. I think I mentioned this last time, but just wanted to highlight uh, on the bottom left here of the navigational pane, you are able to lock this and collapse and expand this bar. So by default, we have it collapsed, and maybe you've come to remember the different icons and how you can navigate across the tool. But just wanted to highlight that there is this locking mechanism. You can um, uh, dock the navigational pane to open this up to read all of the different um, titles for the different tools. So just wanted to touch upon that. Again, as well, if we look up at the top right here, we do have the navigational flyout for the doc site. So you can still go to docs.nectarlabs.com, but it's also located within the tool. So you can use the site as normal. You can search up here, use the navigational pane for the doc site. Of course, submit a ticket in this area here, and anything that you are doing in this pane, when you close it out and you open it up again, it's going to remember, it's going to cache, so you won't have any lost work. And this is especially helpful if you're potentially maybe uh, looking at navigating through the different dashboards or different stuff, and you wanted to learn better. And in some areas I will bring up on this presentation today, but just wanted to highlight that this area is here, and as of course as well user management and turning off the unit, and as well as getting support and turning that on over here. But really the new one is just that navigational flyout. So just wanted to touch upon that as well. Next up, I'm just going to touch up upon the SPURS score generation, just because this is a feature that we did add, but it doesn't have a big flashing red sign that says, hey, here's how you use this. So just wanted to go over this again for your for best practice, best use. It is, of course, only going to be for your NIST. For your NIST SSP, it's not going to be for CMMC because they're not looking for your CMMC score and SPURS. Maybe that will change in future, but right now it's just the NIST SP 100-171. And when you walk through and change the implementation status of the different controls, it's going to contribute to the score up here. So this dial you can interact with, and it will provide you with a summary by default at the control level, but then we'll also break down. If we click this drop down arrow, it will show us the different assessment objectives that contribute to give us a full score. So this one right now, 311, is partially implemented. It's purple because we do have one implemented assessment objective, one planned, and then 4 out of the 6 here are not implemented. Now we're losing the full points because this needs to be green for us to get those points. There's no partial credit. There is only a couple controls where you can get a few points based upon um, how complete you are with those controls. One of those is FIPS, um, and one of those is MFA. So those are really the two only partial controls. Everything else, you need to be green across the board for you to get the full points. So right here, we're not losing any points. We have both assessment objectives green. The whole control is green. And now we've moved up from -203 to -198. And then, of course, as you continue to go through all these other areas here, we'll get a total, which will show up at the top here. And again, you can click on that. By default as well, and one of the things to expand upon is the customization that you can perform on the export of your system security plan. So you're going to be able to customize by clicking on this show additional options. Very important, and this again is only for NIST. SPRS scoring is toggled on by default in the optional sections area. So what that's going to do is that's just going to give us a header on every control telling us what our total score is, and then any points that we have lost potentially. So for example, 311 is partially implemented. We've lost 5 points as per the DODAM scoring, the DoD assessment methodology. For 312, that's full implemented, we've lost 0 points. So that's on by default. You can uncheck that box, and now it will not show up in any areas of the SSP. Additional options to consider, so you can remove the two appendix, the revision appendix and the artifacts appendix, so that's A and B. You can get rid of the cover page. You can also exclude certain controls, and this is just kind of through working through the SSP if you wanted to export it off and have other people look through it. For example, you can exclude controls without artifacts, without tasks, ones needing review, or ones with comments. You can also remove tasks completely. You can also select which controls you want to include. So if you just wanted to include implemented, have those listed out, you can uncheck these and leave that one. So those are just some customizations. You can also include a watermark. You can also password protect the PDF upon download. And then of course, adding in organization name, details, or system name. And lastly, changing the color of the SSP if we wanted to do so. So just wanted to highlight those things for you. I haven't seen any questions so far, but if there are any, please feel free to drop those in the chat or in the questions area. So one area that, and this actually came up, I was going through a demo with a client, and I showed this area just because I particularly like it. And Nick said, "Hey, I have not seen that. That looks really cool. We should tell people about it." So next up, inventory report export. So this came about where we have gotten requests from different users of, "Hey, love seeing the stuff in the tool, but I need to pull stuff out of here, and I need to look at it in a different way." So one of the reports that we added and enhanced is in the inventory area. So you can, in this hosts and main inventory page, you can download um, CSV here of all of these different items. But what you can do is you can configure the fields that you want to add to that export. And the best use to show this is in the hardware area. So you're going to have these fields that are on by default, these 6 fields. You can add additional fields as needed in this view. And every time that this view gets updated, it's going to allow us to add different additional fields to configure and add onto this download in the CSV format. You can't export in JSON. That is not alterable. CSV is. So as you can see, we have 6 fields that are in here, and we can choose where they're going to show up, and it's going to give you a numerical indicator so you can know, 1 is going to be the leftmost column in that CSV download. So you can add these and mix and match as you see fit, drag them over, drag them back, and when you hit download, you're going to get that custom CSV, which is nice. But additionally, those are just the fields that we have selected. So if you select more fields, so we're just going to add these, just select all these real quick. So now we have 10. We go to click on the download here, configure fields, we're going to have 10 fields to choose from. So this is dynamic as per what you are selecting on the fields that you're viewing. And also, of course, this is just the main host hardware by default. But if we click on this drop down, we can, of course, view additional data points filtered down. So if we wanted to know about all graphics devices, um, installed on the different systems in our environment, we're going to be able to, select these particular fields. So we can click on all of them if we wanted to. There's 12 specific fields for the graphics devices dropdown. And if we go to download, we're going to have those 12 fields right here. But maybe we don't want all of them. Maybe we just want some of them. We can select which ones that we want, and we can download, and we can get that CSV, which is really nice. So just wanted to show, and the same thing goes for the software area here as well. You're going to be able to configure those fields, select which ones, and download accordingly. So just wanted to highlight that. Might be a feature that is underutilized, or maybe you didn't, maybe you weren't aware it was there. So just wanted to touch upon that. So that's kind of the theme of today's webinar. So next one, I don't need to go too far into this because pretty sure everyone on this call right now is very well versed in the dashboard area, but just going to go over it anyway, just in terms of filtering, best uses, and some other areas of utilizing the dashboards. So we, of course, do have, and I'm going to go and we'll just do the FortiGate one just to look at. We do have this all spelled out in the knowledge base, and Chris, our support guy, he was a great contributor to this, so it's very, very thorough. If we go to user manual, dashboards, everything I'm about to show you is broken down and specified in this area here with some nice screen grabs. But let me just walk you through it live right now. So of course, with every dashboard, there's going to be the 3 main areas. There's going to be the search bar up at the top. There's going to be the time selection tool up at the top right. And of course, there's going to be these filter controls where you can select drop downs and filter down in these areas here. Now, of course, every single graph on the dashboard you can interact with, you can filter down. So if we wanted to go to, say, top source countries and click on the Netherlands here, when we select that, it's going to make a positive query for the Netherlands, and that's going to be located up here at the top. But one of the things I like to show is just the ability for you to do a couple things here. You can either make this a negative query, you can exclude these results, and the options I just mentioned in terms of positive and negative, those are going to be more on these timeline ones here, where it shows us the plus and minus with the magnifying glass. And if you didn't like the color of the value, you can change that, of course. But if we go back up to this filter here, we can either add additional filters and just select them, select the different fields or type them in. It's going to be a bit easier, of course, to go through and select on visually the different areas of the dashboard. But if we go here, go on Netherlands and edit this filter, right now we're doing source geo country is Netherlands. And we can give this a label and we can save this, of course. But we can also go and change the operator. So if we wanted to make this, again, a negative query is not Netherlands, we can save and update that. But some other operators that we have is exists. So is and is not, it's going to filter down for this value. Exists is just a fact that it is present or does not exist. And then the operators is one of and is not one of is going to allow us to do multiple values in a list. And we can type them in, or we can just select them from this drop down here. And we can apply that. And now we've updated this query. Additionally, one of the things that you can do is you can change all filters, so everything in here in a list. You can change this so you can pin them, you can enable or disable all of them if you had multiple ones in a string. But if you had multiple filters in a string, one of the things that you can do, you can save this as a query, and then you can, so let me just do that, save current query. This is going to be Netherlands and Japan. We can give it a description, Netherlands and Japan. We're going back a few hundred years to a trading, it seems. But going here, Netherlands and Japan, we can add a description. We can include these filters. And we can also include the time frame if we wanted to, last 24 hours. And what that's going to allow us to do is if we go to the Discover tab and we go to FortiGate, and we can load up this query. And now what we can do is we can, and we could have just pinned that and carried it over, but I just wanted to show you that saving query mechanism. We can save this now as a new saved search profile. So we can name this Netherlands and Japan. Confirm that save. And what that's going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to go into alerts and create an alert from a saved search, because so that's how you're going to be able to queue up your own custom saved searches is via a search. Fortunately, right now from the dashboards, there's not a direct line to save that as a search. It's going to be saved as a query. So just wanted to walk you through if you're interacting with a bunch of stuff on the dashboard and want to translate that into a search that can be queued up as an alert. That is the process in which you can do that. And then one of the questions I got, and I just want to kind of go through that exercise here, is someone asked me about, hey, on Active Directory, or they didn't even ask me about Active Directory. They asked me, how do I know if someone failed to log in, or if it was suspicious, or someone was doing a sequence of events? And with the Active Directory dashboard, we do have a couple areas that highlight failed login attempts or successful login attempts. Actually, one of the questions I got was, I just want to see real users. I don't want to see, system or server level or service level users. So you can do that a couple of different ways. You can either, click on those system users that are kind of clogging up your dashboards, and you can make that a negative query, and we can apply that up at the top here. But additionally, because it gets tracked in, so we're going to go and we're going to filter on login. So we're going to filter down for the logon value. And because we're getting the full raw log, and I'll just pull up at the bottom here, of course, one of the things that Windows does is it's going to save for you, the logon type. So logon type is designated as a field. So this is the number 3, but it's also going to give us, the process name, and depending on the logon, it's also, let me just expand this up to last 30 days. So it's also going to give us the logon description. So it didn't do it for us. So this one here. So impersonation level. So this was an impersonator logon. It's a type 3. But if you wanted to know about a network-oriented logon, or an in-person logon or a remote logon, Windows is going to track that. So I'm actually going to filter it down for just this user here, and it will let us know the logon type, so we can discern, okay, this was external or this was a local logon. So if we go to this one here, um, this is going to identify for us that it's a local logon, and it will designate the type for us if it's an AD. If it's just a local user logon, it might not. So that's just something to look out for. So just wanted to touch upon that, where you can filter down for those different values and know if, okay, this was a remote logon, this was a local, fingers on keyboards logon, or this was maybe a service level logon. You can filter out for those values and get a better picture of, what's happening in your environment. Same thing goes for, firewalls. They're all going to have their own designations. They're all going to have their own log severity levels that are designated per the vendor. So you can filter down for those values and, paint a better picture of what's happening. Um, and you can, when you do apply those filters, you're going to be able to, uh, depending on the logon type, if you wanted to filter down by that. So if we go over here and we go to, so this is so right here. So logon types is a 5, and the logon type is service. So we might not want that, and we can, if we wanted to, we can filter out this value, or you can save this up as a search, and maybe you wanted it to be maybe not service, or if user is performing X logon and it's not service, shoot me a an alert. So much like we just walked through with the query and the safe search loading up and the safe search translating into an alert profile, you'd be able to do the same with logon types, just as an example. So just wanted to talk through that. And lastly, we'll just touch upon the vuln scan creation. So we're recommending, of course, with the new unknown hosts area in the, or rather just the vulnerabilities in the host area here. You're going to be able to see vulnerabilities based upon the most current results that you have. One of the snags that we hit with a user, now that I am being reminded of it, is the fact that this hosts and vulnerabilities area is just like any other live log. So you need to make sure that your retention settings are going to allow you to see these results. For example, we had a user, and if I just navigate to the settings and navigate to backups, They had in the log retention period here, they had 14 days worth of visual logs, and then I think they had 90 days for the archive, which the archive for them was local. You can of course kick it off if you need to via Samba. But they had 14 days and they had 90 days here. Well, they were performing a vulnerability scan, the full and fast scan, every 30 days. So at the top of a month. So if you're within the first 2 weeks of that month, well, that's great. You can go in a host, you can go into vulnerabilities in the host, and you can see those results. Well, day 15, they're getting rotated into the archive. So you can go into the host and click on vulnerability scans and say, hey, show me the last 30 days. It's going to come up with a big old goose egg. It's going to come up with a 0. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure if you're running monthly scans that you set this up to be 30 days or longer, 30 days, 45 days. And then, of course, on the archive side, you can kick that up as well. A great indication of what you're going to be able to retain for your individual unit. Every company is different. Everyone generates logs differently in an environment. But what you're going to be able to do is either just in the dashboards area, or you can access this through your home screen. So these indicators here are going to let you know about CPU, RAM, and disk utilization on your system. If we click on View Dashboard, we're going to be able to see these data points over a longer period of time. So we can see if things are exceeding what they should, and etc. But you're also going to be able to know, okay, how much disk space am I using? What's appropriate. So this particular user who had it for 14 days and 90, they were using 8 or 9% of their total disk usage. So that user, they can crank those numbers up. They can make those much larger. So just wanted to highlight that the hosts and vulnerability scan data area is entirely contingent upon your ability to visualize log data. Of course, you can navigate to the vulnerability scanner to see those reports are going to be in there. They are not contingent upon live log data. They're self-contained, self-stored with the vulnerability scanner. It's just this area that is impacted with those settings. Just wanted to highlight that as a use case that we saw. Again, this is going to allow you to see vulnerability scan data per asset. You can also see that same data by clicking on that asset and looking at the flyout and looking at severity of logs or severity of vulnerability scanner data in the Insight tab of that flyout. And the vulnerability scanner again is also supporting this unknown hosts area. So what you should be doing is you should have at a minimum a monthly full and fast scan to really scrub and look for vulnerabilities. You can load in credentials to perform credential scans, authenticated checks, but we also recommend that you set up a discovery scan config, not the full and fast, but a discovery scan, and set that up. Set up a schedule of daily, so that you can capture any unknown hosts, any unknown assets, and reconcile them into your inventory, or just be aware of what's in your environment. So you should, at a minimum, have 2 scan profiles. One for your whole network monthly, one for your whole network daily, and it's just going to be basically a light scan ICMP, just going to ping around and see what's available, and then it's going to identify, hey, this host is available. Would you like to know more about it? And you will be able to see that information either in the unknown hosts area when you click on this drop down here. It will do a live scan, and then that host data will also be identified in the vulnerability scanner, but it will be frozen at when that scan happened. This drop down is going to perform a live scan, so it's going to be fresh data. As soon as you click that drop down, it will pull up with some results for you to look at and analyze. So that's everything that I had on my agenda to kind of walk through and show and talk about just some snags that some people have hit, or some things that some of our users have not been aware of. So just wanted to cover all those for you. And of course, if you guys have any questions that you'd like to drop in chat and have me walk through something, I can do so now. If there is something along the lines of it's going to be a lot more deeper or more specific to your use case, please feel free to reach out to Nick or myself, and we'll set up some time to do that. So let's see here. So a question from Rob. So we are at more disk usage, 62% with 10 days of log retention, 25 archive retention. Had this set higher, but NeQter would alert saying low disk space. For a long time, we had over 80% disk utilization. So those alerts are going to send out at 80%. There's never going to be a case where the system locks up and will shut down from getting too many logs. At a certain point, I think it's at the 90% or 95 percentile, it will just start to drop logs, which isn't ideal, but it's better than having the system grind to a halt. So 10 and 25, some of the things, this might be worth a call. We might need to look at making the log ingestion more efficient, or just making sure that depending on your different log sources, that you have the appropriate amount of verbosity on logs. Like for example, firewalls, they have different levels. You can go from 0 to 7 or something, and it might be too much. It might be maybe logs that you don't need, like debugging or just certain availability statistics or something that the firewall is generating. So that might be something to take a look at. Really, what we would look to do, and maybe you should open up a ticket, is we would look at what log sources are generating the most for you, and see, maybe we can pare those down, either at the source, or one of the things that we can do, a use case I bring up from time to time, is maybe you are tracking file integrity monitoring, which is going to be very loud, very noisy. So one of the things that you might not want to see is like a backup utility, for example. And you want to paint a complete picture, but you don't want it to ruin your dashboards. And dashboard logs, those live logs, are going to take up much more space. It's a 10 to 1 level of space that they're going to take up, more than regular those raw log files. So one of the things that you can do is you can use this log tuner. And what this is going to do, very important, the logs aren't going to be dropped. They're just not going to receive metadata and get visualized on the dashboards. They will be viewable and searchable in the Discover tab in the index area. So a use case could be you have a data account for auditing that is a backup utility, or whatever the backup username is, and you're just going to add that field, filter it out, and maybe reduce your log ingestion. Again, firewalls can be customized at the source, but same thing here, you can filter out specific values. And then of course, if you want to have better visibility on day-to-day logs and interact with them and have more live logs, you can push the archive to a NAS location potentially, or via Samba to somewhere else. So the full archives will be stored in that external location. They will identify and show up here as per normal, but then all of your disk space can be utilized for live logs. So Rob, that might be worth setting up some time to kind of troubleshoot and think through how can we get more out of your system, or maybe make those logs more efficient. So next question from Lorenzo. Let's see here. Resetting host in Active Directory after last update, pushing agent update. So over the course of several updates, and we've had to take a bit to get all of our users up to speed, is of course those original agents that were pushed out or were manually installed. Those will have to be replaced with the new agent manager, and that those files can be accessed, right from here. Um, they can be accessed through this NeQter agent download under device setup. And those agents, so for Windows, they're going to be an MSI installer. They can get deployed out through group policy. And once you push those agents, they're all going to phone home, and they're going to get listed out if we go to hosts and we go to agents. So they will be identified under this inventory tab, of course. They will be tagged as a NeQter agent. But in terms of configuration, you're going to want to go into hosts, go into agents, and by default, when they phone home, they're all going to be listed out in this default group. You're only going to have one group to start. You can make as many groups as you want, or you can edit this default group here, and you can turn on and toggle on all these different options to receive different levels of granularity of logs and log types. If you have any questions with that, again, please feel free to go in and or either reach out to Nick directly. You can reach out to our support team at support@NeQterLabs.com. But the best way to report a ticket is to go into here, go into the knowledge base, submit a ticket, fill out this form here, and then you can list out your priority classification. So it might be, you might select install, just to walk you through dressing up those agents, making sure you're getting the most out of them. So hopefully that answers your question there. So we'll leave it open for just a couple minutes, make sure that everyone has had their questions answered. If there's something specific or something private in nature to your company specifically, please schedule some time with us. We can go through it. We'll try to address any other questions that could pop up in the chat here. But other than that, we'll look to wrap up in the next couple of minutes. Nick, did you have anything from your end?
Nope. You were getting everything that I was getting in the questions and chat areas. I haven't had any direct messages or anything.
Okay. All right. Awesome, Lorenzo. Yeah, if you need some more help, please feel free. We'll get one of our techs on it, walk you through getting the most out of your agents. We have covered the agents in these webinars before. These webinars do get positioned onto our YouTube channel, our NeQter Labs YouTube. You can subscribe. Every time one of these gets posted, you will get an alert. These sessions are recorded, and they will be up on YouTube within the week. So you can view this session or previous sessions that we've had where we've gone more in depth. And then if you need one-on-one help, we'll get that scheduled. We'll address that. So I don't see any other questions popping up. So we'll look to wrap this up. Appreciate everyone's time. Want to thank you for viewing this monthly webinar here. We have this the first Tuesday of every month, barring maybe we need to change something. If we need to, we'll let you know. But you can register for this. If there's anyone else on your team that you would like to register, please let us know. We will add that to the registration list so they can get informed. Other than that, I hope everyone is enjoying the use of their NeQter Labs license. Any questions, send our way. Appreciate your time, and we'll look to touch base again with you next month. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. And anyone who wanted to check out the YouTube page that Patrick mentioned, I did just post a link to our channel in the chat for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. So with that, we'll look to wrap up, and everyone have a great rest of your day.